Top military leader calls for accelerated defense, but where are we going to find the money? And at least one country sees itself as a winner in the Ukrainian war. This is the Great White North Report. General Wayne Eyre of the Canadian Armed Forces says investing in soldiers is his top priority if budget increases. Talking to the government right now to increase the military spending budget, and with what's going on with Ukraine, it seems like a good bet that the government will increase the defense budget. Well, they should. It's no secret that our military is in bad shape, as we are finally replacing our frigates, though we're still waiting for the steel to be cut in the first frigate, as we're completing the patrol ships first. We still do not have a dedicated support ship for our Navy. This comes at a time when we sent the HMCS Halifax was deployed to support a NATO mission in Ukraine. Doesn't mean that it's going to the Black Sea, but it means that it's going to the Baltic coast and more likely supporting the Baltic states, not Ukraine. But it is seen as a show of force. But unfortunately, Canada no longer can send a task force. Our Navy's not strong enough. We're just a coastal defense force. I believe we already have a frigate over there, and now we're sending a second one. Though usually when that happens, we send one frigate over and the other one to replace the one that's going to come home. So the HMCS Halifax is going to be on a 6-month deployment to the Baltic Sea to support Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia, and NATO forces in that region. It's not going to support Ukraine because Ukraine faces the Black Sea, and that would be where the action would be. So our top commander is saying the mission to modernize and revamp should proceed as fast as possible in response to Russian threats and aggressions towards NATO, and I fully agree. But we should not just be looking at one ocean, we should be looking at all three. We should be looking at the Arctic and as well as the Pacific. Because let's face it, the Chinese are not exactly our friendliest neighbors either, even though they're further away. But we do need an accelerated response. Now, General Eyre points to several areas that we fall short, including ground-based air defense and aging stock of anti-armour and weapons. We are short everywhere. Everywhere you look with Canada, the Canadian Armed Forces has a shortfall, and it's going to take us years. We do have the capability of producing our own stuff. I used to work at Armatech. They make armor for the armor vehicles. The LAV 3s, 4s, I believe they're working on 5 now. I used to work for them. General Dynamics. So we do have the capability of a defense industry, and we should definitely be investing more into it. Because let's face it, Canada does not spend the requirements of NATO, which is 2% of national GDP. We're below that, which is why President Trump used to blast at us when he was in office that we don't spend enough, and he was right. We didn't. We spend only 1.4% of our GDP, the 5th lowest national percentage in NATO. It's pretty bad. We rely too much on the Americans to bail us out if something was to happen. And it's time to become self-sufficient in a lot of ways. We still have the jet fighter procurement going on. It takes forever to do anything. I just say scrap that and buy both fighters, as well as get Boeing back on board with the new Super Hornets. Mixed fleet of aircraft. Because if war did happen, Canada would be in a bad shape to help fight it. If the current Ukrainian conflict spilled over into NATO, there's not a heck of a lot Canada can do at the moment. Especially if the Russians decide to come over the Arctic and establish bases in the far north. We would have a hard time dislodging them. And we would be crying for the United States for help. Now, of course, everyone says, well, how can we pay for this? Well, simple. This is an interesting tool. This is the Canadian International Foreign Aid Platform. These are the 2020 numbers. I haven't seen the 2021 numbers. They won't come out until like June. But let's face it, we don't need to give North Korea $6.4 million. We gave China $7 million in 2020, despite the fact that the CCP virus came from there. The Wu flu came from there. Why are we giving them? And they held Coburg and Spavor for almost 3 years. Why do we give them $7 million? Was that to keep Coburg and Spavor in comfortable confinement? Doubt it. Well, we don't need to give Afghanistan $189 million. That we can save. And Pakistan doesn't need $64 million either, because they supported the Taliban. Forget them. Belarus, well, we can take away the $0.8 million we give them. I think we already did that. So there's a lot of countries we can save $1 billion. We could easily save $1 billion just in foreign aid. We don't need to keep giving money to these countries. We could be reinvesting that into a Canadian defense budget and our own procurement systems. The one scary thing about this is that China sees itself as a winner in the Ukraine war, because it thinks it can shield itself from economic and diplomatic fallout and be seen as a pillar of stability. Really, a pillar of stability. This is the country that unleashed the virus upon the world and caused so much chaos that they see themselves as a pillar of stability. Let me put it this way, Russia would never have invaded Ukraine if they didn't have China's backing. Because with China's approval, then they don't have to worry so much about the UN Council and any serious threat on their eastern border. And if the Ukrainian gamble had worked, then China might have thought about the same about going against Taiwan. China is sitting on the fence with Ukraine. They want to see how it works, and they currently can benefit from lending Russia money and weapons, keeping the conflict going. But Chinese officials, they amplify Russian disinformation. They invade Russia all they can, but they're trying to see themselves as the middlemen in this conflict. So they think they can to replace the United States as the world arbitrator. I consider Russia and China to be the new Axis powers of this century. Iran and North Korea would be like the Italy in that partnership. China would like nothing better than to see the United States get bogged down in Ukraine. But we don't have to do that. All we have to do is keep feeding Ukraine weapons. Make it so costly for the Russians that it'll become a Pyrrhic victory if they do win. Or they'll be forced to pull out. It'll become a proxy war. Just what's going on in Syria and what's going on in Yemen. And it's kind of a joke that China considers itself the most stable option, considering that they have reporting for the first time deaths with the CCP virus, which there's far more than they're telling. And they've been locking down their cities. Last week they locked down several cities of somewhere between 24 to 36 million people are locked down in their homes over a spike in the Wuhan virus. And China's hoping that the Ukraine war is taking attention away from the CCP virus and how it started and where it came from and how it came to be. Canadians are not fooled by that and continue to look at the CCP with much suspicion and distrust. Any Canadians out there, let me know what you guys think. Should we be rearming, beefing up our military by cutting foreign aid and putting it into our military? And should we trust China in this matter? Leave comments in the comment section, hit the like button. Until next time, this has been the Great White North Report.